Approval comes from within. So one of the questions that comes up a lot in the spiritual teachings I've followed, and from people I've had these discussions with, and students have asked, where does approval come from? What approval am I seeking? Why do I keep looking for this approval from this person or this outside third party, my boss, or whoever? It could be anybody, right? Or anything you're looking for approval from. What is it, and why are you doing this? And what it boils down to is the only true approval, right, that you need, and this feels true over here, right? You might argue and say, that's not true. I need to be approved by this person. Okay, that's fine too. The approval comes from within. True approval, genuine, authentic approval comes from within. As Jeff, right, as speaking to you as me, I had to go through a lot of internal approvals to sit here and speak in front of this camera to you, right? I had to approve of all of this or be okay with it and be fully open to any comments received or anything I hear or anything that's going to happen as a result of this. It just didn't happen overnight, and the approval came from within. In the meditative work and the work, in the work in the silence, the work I do, the formal meditation work, and in the active and daily meditation, what comes out is I needed that approval from within. I looked outside for the approval for a long time. I looked for the approval and say, hey, should I do this? And people have different opinions, and hey, I think you could maybe want to work on, maybe start that book, or that book will do the trick, and that's just all you need. And it's very well-meaning advice, right? There's no issue with this wonderful advice from the trusted advisors in my life. The issue is the only approval I needed was my own. That was permission slip I needed was for me to write my own permission slip. Remember in school, get that permission slip to go in the hall or go to the bathroom or go on a trip. I needed that permission slip for myself. And sometimes along the way, those you're asking will help you give yourself that permission slip. But it really comes from within. So approval comes from within. And how does it happen? Well, whatever he's looking for approval for, you have the ability right now to give yourself approval for it. The issue is, I'm looking for this support system, and say, oh, all those are around me and supporting me. Now, it does help, and sometimes you get that validation, and everyone will say, do it, do it, do it. And that might push you over, that edge, but it ultimately is just, you're giving yourself the approval anyway. There's no one else to approve anything, right? And there's even an argument saying you can't even approve your own approval. It's happening, right? It's a spontaneous thing happening. Think David Parrish is a wonderful teacher, Fred Davis, David Hawkins, I can name many others who have said, it's just all happening, right? And that approval is happening because it was from within. It's happening because it's time for it to happen, right? It's just happening, and it is as it is. And that's wonderful advice that I've received. But let's get back to the relative terms of this. Approval comes from within you. So you want to do something, you can't get started. Something's happening, and and just stop at the blocker. And when you sit in meditation, if you have tried, if not, please do try best you can to find what it is that's blocking that approval process. And perhaps there's a conversation with somebody who has formally told you can't do it. Maybe you need to clear that up. Maybe it is part of the internal approval process, like a sub point. And look at that, feel that out, right? See how that feels for you. But remember, everything you're trying to do or needing to do or will inevitably do comes from that internal approval within. That is just the way it is. It appears. So when I'm asked, what approvals do I need to get started on this new business idea or this new process or project or just doing this new thing? It's a shame dropping process, being shameless, and going in front of people and doing whatever it is you think you cannot do, right? So here's a good one. What approval is needed? My wife and I we needed some flowers for the front yard, and she also wanted to start growing some flowers at home, and she started growing seedlings. And it was certain, I forget which plant, it wouldn't grow. And we had a bit of a fight about this. I said, there has to be a place you can buy these pre-grown, starter plants from. No, they're very specific and they're not grown around here. I said, okay. And, the argument ensued, small, right? Nothing crazy. And in the end, I ended up founding a greenhouse that might have them. So we ended up going to this greenhouse the next day. And from this journey, the farmer had mentioned, hey, I have this, this land sitting here. I wish someone would lease this land. We found the plan, right? We bought some plants. And the farmer was kind enough. We didn't have cash on it. He's a cash only business, or just cash or check. And we didn't have one, but he let us have the plants anyway. So I already knew I was in a really interesting place. And this person was a wonderful person who saw past, the little details and just went with it, right? So he said in passing, hey, I got this few acres of land, nothing's happening, it's overgrown, and I wish someone would lease it. It'd be really cool to have it used. And I remember saying to myself, well, let's do this. Let's take this land over, because that would be really fun, right? And I knew she wanted to grow, right, some plants and things. So I said to her on the way home, we need that land, it has to happen. And all of a sudden, her response was a little bit, it was a good response. And she's like, wow, it's interesting. But there wasn't instant approval. So she went through this process quickly, in fact, of approving completely, finding within herself to say okay to this really crazy endeavor of starting a farm, right? I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I just said, let's do it, a little crazy. And for a moment, there was some pushback, but then that went away fast. And how I know this is powerful? Because she didn't ask for anybody's approval. It just, the process worked itself through, and she had to work through some of the objections of the inside objections. Like, you can't do this. It's crazy. What are you thinking? Think about it. Clearing the land, irrigating. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I just knew we were supposed to be at that farm, and we were there. That was spontaneous and synchronistic. That synchronicity in that moment was so powerful that a yes was all I had in me. And I knew it, right? And that. That approval was instantaneous for me. And there was nothing blocking that. It was in total ignorance that I said okay to that. It was so much work. And we did the farm, by the way. And I'll get into that later. But it was so much work, hundreds of hours of just labor, pure labor, and full-time work to get that done. But in the end, it was one of the best decisions ever made in our entire lives. And it begs the question, was a decision ever made? How did I get there? Why was I there? Is this happen? Like boom, boom, boom. In one day we had a farm. What was that? Right? Really cool. So approval from within. Remember that. It's super, super amazing to see you as always. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.